Now we're going to look at addition and subtraction of fractions. And so in this case, we actually have a negative fraction here and plus a positive fraction. But the rule doesn't change. So we still first have to look at the denominators, see if they match. And notice that 10 and 25, they don't match. So we have to turn them into something equal. So to do that, we are trying to find the least common multiple, or here we change the least common multiple LCM to LCD. So M is replaced with D because these numbers 10 and 25, they're both denominators. So we're going to use a new name for it. But if you want to call them LCM, that will be fine, but it's the LCM of the denominators. So we can simply replace M with a D. And so, but the way to find the LCD is to find the LCM of 10 and 25. So if you can see that when we double 25, we get 50, and 10 also goes into 50. So that's a quick way to do it. If you don't like that way, you can also do factoring. So 10 is 2 times 5, 25 is 5 times 5. Again, line up the same numbers. And then if you bring down one number from each column, you get 2 times 5 times 5, and that's exactly 50. Okay, so there are at least two ways you can find the least common denominator. So notice that to get 50, to turn both denominators to 50, for the first one, we have to multiply by 5, and the second one, we multiply by 2. So this is what we're going to do. The first fraction with the denominator 10, we're going to multiply both the top and the bottom by 5. Actually, we started from the bottom. We realized, okay, how do I turn 10 to 50? I multiply by 5. But how do I keep the equivalence of the fraction? We need to multiply the top by 5. Same thing with the second one. So we first multiply the bottom by 2, and then we multiply the top by 2 immediately because we want to keep the same equivalence. So now we're going to multiply them out. We get 15 over 50, 34 over 50. And what we need to be careful is the minus sign in front of it and the plus sign in front of the second one need to be brought down. Okay, so now we're going to apply the rule. So we keep the same denominator, 50 and 50, so that will stay the same. But we're going to add the numerators. So this minus sign only goes with the top or the bottom. So usually we like to keep the bottom positive. So bottom would be both positive. Because if one of them is negative, the other is positive, they don't match. So if we keep both the bottom always positive, and whatever the sign will be associated with the top. So this minus sign will go with the top. So it's going to be negative 15 and the plus 34. So that's how we get negative 15 plus 34. So again, be careful. The negative sign, this minus sign cannot be distributed. This a minus sign in front, because it's not like a fraction. If you have something plus something, when you have a minus sign, the minus sign, yes, needs to be distributed. But if you have division, this little line means division, you cannot distribute a minus sign. This minus sign can only go with one of them. And the reason is because the division rule of sign numbers, because you either have negative divided by positive, that gives you a negative answer, or a positive divided by a negative that gives you answer. So only one of them can take the minus sign, not both of them. And usually we pick this one because the bottom will be positive. We like the bottom to be positive, so they match, both positive, they match, and we just deal with whatever the top numbers are. So this minus sign goes with 15 plus 34. So this is something we already talked about, how to add sign numbers. So negative 15 means we have $15 debt. 34 means we have $34 credit. So we have more credit than debt. And how much more credit? So $34 credit minus $15 debt. So we're going to subtract them. We get 4 minus 5, not enough. So we're going to borrow 10 from 3 tenths. So that's going to increase the 4 to 14. And 14 minus 5 gives us 9. And 2 tenths minus 1 tenth, that gives us 1. So the answer will be 19. And it's going to be credit because we have more credit than debt. So the credit is big enough, large enough to cover the debt. So that's why we have 19 as the numerator and the denominator 50 will stay. Now let's look at another example. What if we have a whole number in there or integer here? And how do we, one of them is a integer or whole number, the other is a fraction. So in this case, we will turn the whole number because any number, doesn't matter what it is. Say if you have 5, you can put a 5 over 1. If you have negative 5, you can put negative 5 over 1. So you immediately turn the whole number or the integer into a fraction. And so any number you can, any whole number or integer, you can always put a 1 underneath. That will look like a fraction. So this is what we're going to do in the first step. Put a 1 underneath. And next, you are going to get the common denominator. So we're going to have turn 1 to 3 into the same number. So you're thinking 1 to 3, how do I turn it into the same number? Of course, it's 3. So usually you're going to start with the bigger number. And then because 3 goes into 3 and 1 goes into any number. So let's take a look. What do we need to do to turn the first number 1 to 3? Because we know 1 times 3 is 3. And to turn 3 to 3, you either do nothing or you can times it by 1. So either way, because first thing we're going to do is, so we're going to multiply 1, the denominator 1 by 3, and do the same to the top. The denominator 3, we don't do anything because we want to change both the denominators to 3, and it's already 3, so we can do nothing. But if you really want to do something, you can times it by 1. But again, we know times it by 1, it doesn't really change anything. So you're still going to get negative 12 over 3. 4 times 3 is 12. 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 1 is 2. 3 times 1 is 3. Now, we're going to do something similar that we did. We keep the denominator 3, but we're going to associate that minus sign. See, this goes with that, and this goes with that. And now we're going to have negative 12 minus 2. So think of, again, a quicker review of the sign number rules. So you can think of this as negative 12 plus negative 2. So we have $12 debt plus $2 debt. So debt plus debt end up with a larger debt. So first of all, we're still going to get debt. That means the answer is minus. And $12 debt plus $2 debt. So we're going to do 12 plus 2. That gives us $14 debt. So that's why the top is going to be negative 14 over 3. I skipped a step here because when you get negative 14 over 3, 3 means positive 3. A negative number divided by positive, it's going to give us negative. And then when we try to divide these two numbers, 14 by 3, we can, this as a fraction, it's already reduced. So we don't have to do anything. We can leave our answer as 14 thirds. In real life, oftentimes we prefer decimals, and you can use your calculator or do long division to get decimals. But here we can leave the answer as a fraction.